I think for the most part, we all want to get ahead financially. And for many of us, people like Mark Cuban and Dave Ramsey are people that we follow in order to get that financial advice. And for the most part, they can give pretty sound advice. However, one thing I think is important to remember is that even famous people can be wrong, as is the case with Mark Cuban and Dave Ramsey's hatred of credit cards. How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's topic, it would mean a lot if you can hit the like button down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help me with the YouTube algorithm. All these things help factor in to get this video in front of as many people as possible, and I appreciate your help. Let's take a look at this interview with Mark Cuban on the Dave Ramsey Show.
If you use your credit cards, you do not want to be rich. And people then they ask me, well, where's the best place to invest? I said, your best place to invest is to pay off all your credit cards and burn them.
I think that advice is bad advice at best and, quite frankly, malicious at worst. I think a lot of his argument comes from the fact that credit cards tend to have very high interest rates, at least 16%. And we should avoid paying interest on credit cards if at all possible. And in this regard, Mark Cuban is completely correct, and I completely agree. I've said repeatedly on this channel that if you are in credit card debt, you are not actually earning any credit card rewards. However, honestly, I think Cuban's advice is flawed and a bit tone deaf. He assumes that everyone that has a credit card carries a balance from month to month, which isn't necessarily true. First off, even if you do carry a balance from month to month, sometimes credit cards are the easiest way to finance something. There are plenty of 0% interest cards like the Wells Fargo Reflect that can give you 0% interest for up to 21 months. Savvy credit card users know this, and they're advertised everywhere. That's not even mentioning the fact that if you just pay your credit cards in full every month, you don't have to pay interest at all. The fact that he doesn't even consider this option is actually quite disingenuous to me. And I honestly wouldn't be so emotional about this topic if credit cards were just, a thing. But credit cards are a large part of life, right? Because part of life is having a credit score, and credit scores help you do all sorts of things and not just getting other credit cards. In general, credit cards are a great tool to build credit, and you absolutely need credit if you want to build your net worth in any substantial way. Let's say you want to buy a $500,000 house and you put 5% down, so $25,000. And then this $500,000 house after a year grows 10%. You've now made $50,000 in equity, and the equity is all yours and not the bank's. Take me, for example. When I tell you that I like credit cards and I think credit cards are a good idea, I am completely being 100% honest with you because that is the case for my life. I got my first credit card when I was 19 years old, and I built up my credit slowly, but recently, because of my good credit, I was able to buy a house, move out of my parents' house, and even get married. If I didn't ever use credit cards, I would probably still be living with my parents, I would still be single, and I probably wouldn't even have the same job that I have. And that's because credit scores are checked for background checks when you're applying for jobs, or even applying for housing if you don't want to own a home. Of course, that all relies on the fact that you need to use your credit cards responsibly, and that just means paying them off every month and not paying any interest. That's not all too hard when you manage your budget properly using modern day apps like Intuit Mint or pocketguard. Let's look at another clip from the Dave Ramsey Show.
Abe's in California. I'm curious as to why you condemn the use of credit cards for everyone in every situation. I'm 37 years old. I make $90,000 a year. I'm on baby step 6 and my credit score is 815. I have 4 credit cards, 4 of which I use regularly based on which one gives me the best rewards at particular places. I pay the bill in full at least monthly for every card. Why shouldn't responsible individuals such as myself use credit cards? Because you're not. You're delusional.
Quite frankly, Dave Ramsey's attitude really irritates me, and it really grinds my gears to hear the arrogance and the condescension in his voice. In this same video, he did point to the fact that rich people don't care about airline miles, and because the rich people don't care about them, they don't matter. He says that 1% is not worth going after, and I think this is another tone-deaf statement. First off, we're not rich. I get it. Rich people don't care about airline miles because they can pay for everything in cash. That's perfectly fine, but we aren't there yet. What we are middle-class individuals, and we just want to be frugal. We have to spend money anyway to live, and so it would be nice to get some rewards in return. So yes, rich people don't care about credit card rewards.
But intelligent people do.
Furthermore, in regards to him mentioning that we're just getting 1% in some very dismissive way, we're not getting 1%. This whole credit card channel is about getting way more than 1%. I spit on 1%. We are getting 3, 4, even 10% back on all of our purchases, and this adds up to thousands of dollars in free travel for us. Those thousands of dollars for free travel, we are now able to spend on other things or use for other expenses. Again, Dave Ramsey makes the assumption that people aren't responsible with credit cards. It's just not something that he could possibly comprehend. And I think he needs to take his financial advice and stick it in the past where it belongs, because I think he grew up in a time where people didn't have credit cards and everyone paid cash for everything. And so to him, having cash leave your hand is that psychological trigger to tell you are spending money. But for people like me who have grown up, in the 2000s, that is not the case anymore. I didn't grow up using cash. I grew up using cards. I grew up using checks. I grew up using things like Venmo. And for me, I use things like Intuit Mint or pocketguard to manage my budget. When I spend money on my credit card, it instantly deducts from my budget in Mint in real time. And so to me, all of my credit card spending is exactly like cash. I see my monthly budget go smaller and smaller and smaller to the end of the month. And it is exactly the same to me as if I were holding a big wad of cash in my hand and watching that stack go smaller and smaller and smaller. By the way, both of those apps are completely free, and if you aren't using them to help you manage your budget, I highly recommend looking those up. But honestly, it seems that, again, Dave Ramsey is being a bit disingenuous. He doesn't even acknowledge that these apps exist, and that's just intellectually dishonest. And it could be that Dave Ramsey just belongs to this older generation that just doesn't understand how these mobile apps work. I think he should just admit to it. He should just stop pretending that we all pay our credit cards through mail orders or something like that. He should stop pretending that we all just wait for the bill from our credit card statement and we're like, whoa, I didn't know I spent this much money. No, we can check our credit card statements on our apps in real time even if we aren't using Intuit Mint. None of these statements are of any surprise to us. And I honestly think he needs to get with the times and get educated on the modern day financial tools. Just to lighten the mood a little bit, there's a funny comment down below in his video. And honestly, it's a perfect example of something that you have to buy, and getting rewards for things you have is actually a good thing. The comment reads, "Oh man, the credit card company that gives me 5% cash back just tricked me into buying gas for my car so I can get to work. No wonder why they have nicer buildings than me. Darn it." And that's a good example of that, right? So we all need gas to get to work. We're gonna buy gas anyway, and we're spending the same amount of money whether we're putting it on a credit card or going up to the guy and giving him a wad of cash. But anyways, I appreciate you listening to my rant about all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like this, be sure to check out my other videos using the link in the description down below. Until next time, despite what Dave Ramsey says, I'm going to keep going out there and getting free stuff.